Hello and welcome to another Andy's Chomping at the Bit, brought to you by Big Andy Media, the official sponsor of Fridays, although today's Saturdays, Andy's Chomping at the Bit. I am here in Ludington a day earlier than Mother's Day to celebrate with my parents. And so I get to use my old little studio area, uh, or what's left of it, for today's segment. So today it's going to be on spiritual awakening. Um, and there's a particular moment that comes to mind for me. Um, it was the moment at which, so yeah, give you a background in spiritual awakening. It's the moment of, well, some call it higher consciousness, or at least higher awareness, I guess you'd say. Uh, so uh, the moment that really sticks out to me was when I was in treatment this past time, which was in from September 23rd, 2022 until November 7th. So um, this was about, I'd say that was about 2 or 3 weeks in. So we're looking at early October, roughly. Uh, and I cannot tell you what was on my mind particular when I went to bed, but I remember it was something that was stressing me out. And when I woke up the next morning, something clicked in my head. Like literally, when I woke up, something was different. And what was different is my outlook on events or how I saw things in the world. So it clicked in my head that all of a sudden that, and I always was classifying things as this is good, this is bad, but all of a sudden I realized that not everything falls into those categories. Not everything has to be a good thing or a bad thing. A lot of things just are, and that's okay. Um, so, for instance, death. Everyone does eventually, right? So, it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It just is. Eventually, we all face that. Um, but you can apply that to everything, you know? Not everything, but most things. So I made poor decisions in the past. They were poor choices. I can acknowledge that. But facing the consequences, I wouldn't say it was a good thing or a bad thing. It was a lot of suffering during that time. Even let's go with my addiction as a whole, right? So during active addiction, you can look at, I originally was looking at it and I felt shame from my addiction for a long time. Once I became accepting or acknowledging that I had the disease of addiction, for a long time, I took shame and I felt bad about it. I felt less than for it. And the reality is that it's not something to be ashamed of. You wouldn't be ashamed if you had diabetes. You wouldn't be ashamed if you, let's go with another one, physical one. So you wouldn't be ashamed if you had arthritis. I'm giving a small one. I was going to say cancer, but that can be a more challenging one. Is not a fair comparison, and you shouldn't feel ashamed for that anyway. But um, what I'm going with this is I I felt shame because I felt like it was a flaw, defect. Uh, but by putting it into perspective of nothing, not necessarily good or bad, just is, helped me realize that there were positives and negatives with being an addict. No, we already know the negatives. Everyone hears about the negatives. But there was a lot of positives too that I didn't see for the longest time. Like, for instance, gratitude. When you go through an immense amount of suffering, and this isn't just for addiction, that anyone who's gone through any form of trauma or serious illness, um, can understand this and relate to some extent. Uh, but I started seeing the world differently as far as, from my addiction. I realized gratitude was a big part of it. Uh, I could appreciate things that I once did not. Uh, Even simple things like being able to smell rain, that smell outside when it rains, appreciating that. On a snowy day, a wet snowy day, which is the worst of the snowy days, um, you can appreciate that. Being able to go outside and see the snow, not to mention being able to feel it. I know it's not the most comfortable if you're stuck in it, uh, but when you don't get to experience it for a long time, when you don't get to experience outside for a long time, and when you're blind to everything going on in the world for a longer time, you learn to appreciate those moments. I appreciate getting to see my dog. I literally, when I get the opportunity, I still make the venture up to Ludington just to spend a few hours with my dog Sophie. And eventually, she'll be with me in Grand Rapids. It'll be a while here, but she will be. Uh, but that's part of that's part of understanding that not everything's good or bad, just is. With addiction, that getting that gratitude side, or even we'll take it a step further, growth. If we're being perfectly honest here, uh, I wouldn't have worked on myself and worked to improve my life if I didn't have uh, initially, the whole struggle with addiction. And realistically, I wouldn't have worked to the extent I have if I wouldn't have had this moment of clarity, or seeing life through a different lens. Uh, as far as, once again, not necessarily good or bad, just is. Uh, that the growth I have got gained from the struggles at this point, I view as equal, if not a greater, factor as far as good versus bad. So I, I think with that view, it changes how I view certain aspects of the past, and one in particular would be regret. A lot of people talk about regret. I, I regret doing this. I regret doing that. And hindsight 2020, all that. We hear that, but a lot of people still hold on to regret. So let me put it in a different way, as far as how this awakening affects that side of it. I can't build a time machine. I've tried many times when I was under the influence, and I failed every time. And even if I wasn't under the influence, I still would have failed. No one's done it yet, and I'm okay with that. And this is why: the poor choices I made, those dark moments, the moments that were so brutal, and I would never wish them upon anyone, and literally anyone. And there's a lot of people I don't care for, and I wish some not so pleasant things. But even on them, I wouldn't wish for this. That rough moments, but during those moments, and because of those moments, I had the fortune of meeting some really good people and gaining some really good people in my life. Yes, I met a lot of bad people too, no doubt about it. But I met some good people in the darkness too. And I learned a lot during those moments. Learned the hard way, but I learned them nonetheless. If I was able to mysteriously go back and change and make it so those things never happened, making it so I never used for the first time, let's say, we paint that picture in our head that everything would be fine, everything goes on, everything's great. But the problems, the underlying cause behind these moments are still there, and they don't get addressed. Using is a symptom of addiction. It's a symptom of a greater problem. So if I never used that first time, it's very likely that I would have used or done something even worse at a later point. And there's no knowing how my life would have been in that situation. It could have been much worse. We never know on that. That's the mystery of we can't travel back and change. But nonetheless, I gained a lot of valuable lessons from the dark points in my life. I grew a lot from those moments. I I started valuing learning a lot more. I started valuing it before that point. I really started appreciating learning in college. But when I say learning, I mean not just via a specific subject. I mean self improvement, learning and growing. And by gaining that view, by gaining that knowledge from the past and not regretting the past, and appreciating what I got out of it, appreciating the opportunity to grow. So a lot of this will tie with attitude. I think I still have it. Yeah. Positive attitude or positive change starts with attitude. I still believe that. Full heartedly believe that. And this that little moment waking up with this change in view made that possible for me. I'm not sure what clicked in my head, what triggered the click, or the cause behind it. And to be perfectly honest, I don't need to know. I'm okay and I'm content not knowing the answer to that. I love to know. I love to learn a lot of things. But all that really matters to me at this point for that side of the part of my past is that it helped, that it's working now. It's it's given me a drive and a better understanding of myself. I learned what I really value. I didn't know what I valued when I first went into treatment. I thought that it was, I thought I valued wealth. I thought I valued, um, I thought I valued the company of others, which I do to a point. But I'd say value, I mean, as far as the drive in my life, the need, you know, what makes me wake up in the morning. It's not money, it's not having someone else there. Um, those things are nice to have, but they're not the drive. Um, I realized that my drive is simply two things, really: growth, learning to grow, and learning to be happy. And by happy, um, joyous things happen all the time. I'd find joy even in my darkest moments, but I wasn't happy in my darkest moments. I think I've went over this before with happiness. Um, I did that as a topic. Uh, but those are the things that I appreciate: being content, um, and appreciative. Those are my drives. Those are my drives to wake up every morning, to get up, to make the most of my day. Right from the saying prayers in the morning to saying prayers at night. And I can even go on that one. It's right up there with the cause of the spiritual awakening. You know, people will say, well, it was God. They'll say, well, it was an event that triggered a chemical reaction to the brain. I personally do not uh, care what the cause is. Like I said, I pray, so I like to think that was the reason. Not praying causing it, but an act of God. But I still pray, and whether it is God that's helping me through it, or whether it is just a placebo of some sort or another psychological cause, I don't feel that is relevant as much as the fact that it is working and that it is helping me and that I am growing from it. So, the same thing goes with that spiritual awakening. That moment when all of a sudden it just clicked. I'm grateful that it clicked. That's the not why it clicked. I'm grateful that it clicked. um, so it's been a it's been a real fun journey since then. Being able to put those things in perspective, and it's carried over to all aspects of my journey. It's helped me embrace the present, not worry so much about the future, not look. That's where it's really made the difference. I'm no longer, because of that, looking for, okay, once I get here, I can do something. Once I get here, I can breathe. Once I get here, I can celebrate. I'll be happy once I get here. This is a realization that I came to, and people can disagree with me, but from my experience and from speaking with others who have grown in their recovery, it's been pretty much uh, spot on with this. If you're not happy when you have nothing, if you're not content when you have nothing, I'm talking about financially, material wise, when the people around you might not even be there, when you are in your, when you're getting up and you have nothing, if you can't be happy in those moments, when someone else isn't there to help you, when you don't have a lot of money, you don't have resources, you're neck deep in debt, if you're not happy with you, you're never going to be happy. No offense. You can have all the money in the world. A lot of people look at things that, oh, it's not fair that, I had to suffer like this. And such person, they grew up with a silver spoon. They're multimillionaires or billionaires. They don't know what it's like to suffer. Well, not financially, they don't. We can agree on that. But I can assure you that they suffer in other ways outside of material. And a lot of them use material to try masking the suffering. When you have less, you learn to appreciate more. Try letting that sink in a little bit. When you have less, you start to appreciate more. So, if you can be happy when you have barely anything, if at all, if you can be happy in those moments, the rest of life, it doesn't matter what you have. You can have $1 million. You can have $100. You can have $10. You can be in debt $10,000. As long as you get the things that you need, food, shelter, creating a healthy support, learning to grow, that's what's helped me the most. I have been blessed to have some very good, supportive people in my life. I've been very blessed to be able to meet some wonderful people and some very supportive people throughout the recovery community. And I've had tremendous help um, with people, even in the mental health professional community, that have helped me get to where I am today. And I've got to give some credit once again. To that moment of spiritual awakening, because I've been able myself at this point as well, not necessarily by myself. Support went a long way, but I have been able to utilize that support and make the most of it. So, and I'm still here. When it's all said and done, I'm still here. I fell a lot of times. I'm still here. And even through all these moments. So on the 7th, I celebrated 32 months clean and sober. It's not one of the milestone times, but it's important to remember that even with 32 months clean, I still make mistakes. I still fall on my face quite frequently. Not literally. I haven't done that in quite a long time. But figuratively speaking, I still trip and make mistakes in my life. And there's still a lot of areas I need to grow in. There's still a lot of areas I want to grow in. Uh, that's part of the journey. I still struggle with certain aspects of my addiction as far as the brain always wants to substitute. So I struggle with overeating because that's one of those addictions I cannot stop. I have to, as far as I have to eat. I can stop overeating, uh, but I have to eat. So learning to manage that one and learning to change me, not just quitting, but actually changing me uh, so I don't fall back into those unhealthy patterns, you know? Uh, those are the things I focused on today. And and I know that whatever happens on this journey, um, right now I am um, hoping to hear back soon on a potential employment opportunity. And so, in those moments, like, do I want that? Absolutely. I would love to have the opportunity. But if for some reason, whatever reason, I don't get the offer, I know that there's other opportunities. And I know I can grow from that opportunity going through the process, interviewing. Um, Regardless of the outcome, there's always opportunity for growth. There's always opportunity to improve. Um, and nothing in that scenario is a we're doomed kind of situation. And being able to see that and not just say it, but actually feel it and say, and believe and embrace that concept, it changes everything. Everything. It makes even the worst moments when it allows me to step back. And this is where self-awareness has been a wonderful asset for me. I can step back in the worst moments, and I've been able to do this, I should say, uh, being able to step back somewhat even before this last time I went to treatment. We had our car stolen when we're in Chicago, and I remember in the spot stepping back and being like, someday telling the story is gonna be uh, pretty funny, and it actually is. If I went through the whole story, it is pretty funny. um, but I remember saying that in the moment, which didn't make too many people happy in the moment, but anyway. But I've been able to grow at a healthier direction, and yeah. So that essentially was my spiritual awakening: is waking up and understanding that not everything's good, not everything's bad. Some things just are. And that gave me actually a different understanding of God. And so I'll go through this real quick, and this is just my interpretation of something, and it is not the view of anyone else necessarily. Does not represent Big Andy Media. It is literally just my personal perspective of this. Feel free to disagree. Uh, but the argument people always have against God or a higher power is that um, if God is all knowing and all loving, why does he let bad things happen? Why does he let uh, a child die of cancer? Why does he let an entire area of people uh, starve? Why do all these things? Why does he let natural disasters uh, hit people and destroy uh, entire cities? And so that's the argument against. Well, here's how I see it. And like I said, you can disagree all you want. That's your choice. Everyone has their right to their own understanding and viewpoints. But I believe, I don't think God makes those happen. He gave us free will. I believe that those things happen, or yeah, so those things happen. Those are the not necessarily good or bad, and you'll see how that ties in here. Gratitude cannot exist without dark moments. It's a reality. We appreciate sunny days. If we never had rain, if we never had nighttime, we wouldn't appreciate the sunny days. Same goes with everything. So, going the worst case scenario, a child with cancer and ends up dying, right? For the families not directly impacted, they get to see their kids. They get to see their kids grow up. And they get to appreciate that they got to see their kids grow up, that they got to spend that time with them, that they got to experience the ups and the downs and the joys and the sorrows of raising a child, right? Okay, now with the family that's directly affected, it's a much harder one. But they got to appreciate more than the average parent ever could those few moments that they did have with their child. They value those memories, those every second, much more than anyone could possibly imagine who hasn't been through that situation. That's gratitude. Yes, we get mad sometimes. Yes, things are painful. That's part of life. Like I said, I'm not saying that was a good thing that those things happen. Those are classic examples of they're not good, they're not bad. They just are. I'm just trying to show the yin to the yang, essentially. We already are well aware of the bads, the suffering. Where's the positive? Gratitude. Why did these things happen? Gratitude. What what makes me appreciate the love and support of everyone else is from those dark moments. If I never had dark moments, I can honestly say I would take for granted all of the help, love, and support I've had. It's hard not to if you don't know any other way. So that's my take on that whole issue, and that's my backstory, I guess, for the spiritual awakening. That big moment that changed everything. Don't know why it happened. Don't know how it happened exactly outside of woke up with it. But I am grateful that it did happen. I'm grateful that I'm able to share it with you. That is your daily biscuit for today. Tomorrow there will be a Singing for a Cause pre-recorded performance. And since I'm not able to do these live right now because of my current living condition, as you guys have previously heard, um, I have decided that I am, until I get a better situation or a venue that will provide the opportunity for me to do a live performance and be able to efficiently raise money and awareness for individual charities. I am going to be doing charitable causes. This month is Mental Health Awareness Month, so I will be doing a performance to help bring awareness for mental health awareness, awareness for mental health awareness, for mental health awareness for mental health, as well as some resources that you can utilize in throughout West Michigan. So I will cover things like CMH, Network 180, a lot of other nonprofits in between that are very helpful, and some hotline numbers that are also very helpful for you or anyone else who may be struggling with it. But that's what the performance will be essentially tomorrow, to bring awareness for that, as well as performances going forward. And every month will still be different. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys again tomorrow. Take care.